Well, here we are in my first attempt at a sealed video. Scars of Mirrodin block, and we're going to start by sorting by rarity. So it seems like we've opened White Sun Zenith and the White Chancellor, Spell Skite, which fits well into almost any deck, and Putrefax, which of course only works in the poison build. So at this point, it tends to be a good idea to pull out things that you think would be playable, regardless of color. So we have Fume Spitter, Violent Wound, Lancermite, and Vault Scourge. Guess Verdict, Spread the Sickness, and Enslave. Enslave is a powerhouse card, especially if you're playing Infect and your opponent is as well, because the enchanted creature deals the damage, an Infect creature would deal poison. In green, our options seem a little bit lighter. Yeah, with Fangren Marauder being probably our best pull. Pistis Strike, of course, removal for flyers, valuable, but not quite enough on its own. Slice and Twain, very heavy hitting card and great because it's an instant, but other than that, I really don't think green is the way to go with this. So in blue we have Steel Sabotage and Mirren Spy, which nothing else is a flyer. Steady Progress. Trinket Mage, which works well with Chimeric Mass because it's converted mana cost to 0 when it's in your library. Invisimancer, unblockable. Any invasion form tends to be a good idea. As a result, Spinethopter also quite acceptable. Lumigrid Drake is a very expensive flying mana war, and it's only a conditional mana war at that, so it's a flyer for 4, but I wouldn't expect much more out of it. Spire Monitor, Flash and Flying, anything with Flash is worth considering, and Volition Reigns, of course, has a lot of power in any format because of the ability to take any permanent. So in white we have double Glint Hawk, and hopefully we have the artifact support for that, which they do allow you to recast your Chimeric Masses for more value. Very unlikely we're going to be playing Infect. The Quarter Paladin is a very solid card, as is Oriok Sunchaser, as long as you're able to get to the Metalcraft. Soul Parry, typically only useful if your opponent's playing Infect. It's a lackluster card at best. Divine Offering, on the other hand, and Scars Block Sealed is always worth playing because of the sheer number of artifacts. A Grizzly Bear that does a 2-point life swing when it comes in. Not awesome, but not terrible. Instant Mirrors that can also help with Metalcraft for a surprise blowout with Sunchaser or any other Metalcraft condition. And Remember the Fallen, it gets back 2 cards, essentially, and often 2 creatures, so it's worth using as well. Frantic Salvage isn't quite as valuable because of its cost, but it's still worth considering, especially in the side if you don't have better options. Razor Hippogriff is huge. It's a solid flyer, but also getting back an artifact and gaining that life. Very, very useful card. And Exclusion Ritual is removal, so it's worth considering even though it's an awkward one at best. Under red we have Assault Strobe, which if you have enough evasion can be a win condition, but the fact that it's a sorcery makes it very awkward. Ferivore has the potential to just win the game if you have a few things to sack, and it also works well with things like the Wellsprings. Really don't have a whole lot of value. Artillerize is amazing. Ferromancer's good, and Ringleader's okay, but our red's pretty weak as well. So at the moment, I'd be saying either blue, well, white definitely, but then either blue or black. Because White Sun Zenith is a win condition, without a doubt, in this format. And both of our extra colors have a mind control style effect. So in our artifacts, we have the blue Spellbomb, which is definitely worth considering if we're playing blue. A little bit of invasion as well as the added draw card can be pretty helpful. Glenhawk Idol, as we're playing white, and it's a 2-2 flyer. Wellspring because it's mana fixing in any color. Blinding Soul Eater because the tap effects are just huge. It might as well be considered a white creature because of its ability, but it is worth noting that it's a Phyrexian mana symbol, and so you can't pay the life. Pristine Talisman, also worth considering because it's a slight bit of acceleration, but more so, unless you're playing Infect, an extra life a turn is a pretty big deal. Kilnwalker is a weak wall on defense, but it's still a 3/3/3 attacking, and that is better than a Hill Giant in pretty much any situation. And also, no color requirement, pretty useful. Rusted Slasher, worth considering because we have a Wellspring, but it's not great. I'm a big fan of Darksteel Sentinel because of the flash and indestructibility. Permanent wall unless you're playing Infect, because there is not a whole lot of removal options in the other colors, so he's definitely worth one of the higher slots in our deck. Sylvok Lifestaff is a really solid equipment, especially, again, if you're not playing against Infect, because of the life gain can quickly make it hard for your opponents to catch up. So, obviously, we have way too many cards, and we need to cut a killer at this point, and so we need to decide which is just better. Black with Enslave, Spread the Sickness, Guess Verdict, but fewer evasion abilities, or Volition Reigns, along with Steel Sabotage is all we really got in blue. So let's see what we can make out of black-white, and maybe we'll come back to the blue. And it's also possible that we can side it in if our opponent's playing anything that seems slow enough. So our curve is horrible at this. It actually appears to be inverted. So you have to look at what the most likely cuts would be, because we are still way too high as far as overall card quantity goes. So Glenhawk works well, like I said, with Megasynth Wellsprings and various other effects, including Chimeric Mass, as well as being a 2/2 for 1, which can't really be underestimated. We have so many low-cost artifacts that it's worth keeping them. Fume Spitter is a form of removal, and as is Virulent Wound, so it should really be considered. Although, if you notice your opponent is not playing many 1 toughness creatures, it's fair to side it out, but it can get you a kill on a higher toughness creature if you're willing to use it in combination with a block. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 artifacts. It's probably safe to cut the Sun Chaser, considering how many low-end things we have already, but we might come back to that. Rusted Slasher probably doesn't make it. It's the 1 toughness is just too awkward, and if you play against anything with Infect, it's just not worth it. So we're left with the Chancellor, which we will play because it is very large in the air, and its reveal ability can definitely help in the early game, although we shouldn't have a problem there with the number of things we could put down quickly. So I think cutting 3 or 4 more cards is probably safe. I like Spellskite because of its ability to redirect otherwise blowout style effects. Mutagenic Growth has to be played very carefully around it, as does any removal, so it's worth considering being in, even though we've now cut the blue. Master's Call probably doesn't make it, since we now have no Metalcraft effects, it appears, and the surprise blockers really aren't worth it. Although we are low on creatures at 13 with this, our removal should be sufficient to get us through, and the Glenhawk Idol really makes it 14 anyway. So I think Spellskite might be sideboard, as much as I like it, because we're not going to cater immediately to its ability, and we're probably going to be more aggressive than our opponents. playing a 2-drop with 0 power is therefore not quite as useful. I think for the final cut, Kilnwalker might go, or Inquisitor Exarch because it is double white, and the life swing for a Grizzly Bear isn't that important to justify missing a second turn play. Oh, Flencermite's still in there. That should obviously be the cut. That was my mistake, but the lifelink is useful, and the infect is as well, because it would stop things like Rusted Slasher, but it's not even worth considering, especially with our other removal and Fume Spitter being in the deck. So, Leaden Mirror would probably be considered, but we have so little double black, and I don't think we need more acceleration than just a Pristine Talisman. So the suggestion goes 10 and 6. Because it gets Verdict, I'd actually say we go 9 and 7. We have the Mycosynth Wellspring to get us the extra one anyway. So we do have 2 triple white cards at the higher end, but again, by turn 7 that should be pretty manageable. So that's my suggestion for our initial build, and we'll see how round 1 goes. Okay, here we are, about to start round 1 of the first sealed video. Our opponent looks to be loot backwards, and we've lost the opening rule with a very weak starting hand. I'm actually going to not mulligan, because the Chancellor should delay our opponent a turn, and if we hit any low-cost artifact, we can obviously play the Dueling Hawk as well. Additionally, we have a third of our lands already out of the deck, so our odds of drawing it are much lower. So, perform our opening hand action, and start the game. Remember the Fallen, obviously a whiff at this point, but no pressure. Opponent's still making no play, so if he did have a turn 2 play, nothing occurred. Exclusion Ritual is another whiff, so we're going to play the Swamp in case we get a Guess Verdict and it's necessary. This allows us to play any of our 3-drops or 2-drops based on our lands. Riddlesmith will obviously get through, which is unfortunate because it's a very powerful card. The ability to loot multiple times in a turn is quite nice. So, and another land, so looks like we're taking 2, and he's probably going to draw a card. Well, filter a card, specifically. There is no net gain and card advantage, but he does get to choose what he has, which is still a powerful ability. Yeah, Porcelain Legionnaire paying the 2 life because there's no disadvantage for him that way. He might have another 2-drop, and because he's getting the draw with the Riddlesmith, that also leaves him the opportunity to draw another. Which he apparently did not, or he's staying on the defensive, and another land, which this point's a little surprising, but oh well, nothing you can do. So we have 7 of our 16 lands. There's 9 left in 29 cards. So here we take 5, and I'll probably get to filter a little bit more. Well, Cybermancer really does little other than being a 3/3 in the air for 4. That's still probably enough to be inconvenient. Additionally, we only drew another land, so at this point we're going to take 8. That'll put us to 5. Our options would be White Sun Zenith for 3, allowing us to kill 2 of his guys, but then we still have 3 in the air that we really have no answer to, other than maybe Exclusion Ritual, which we have in our hand, so we'll see. We will postpone conceding for a turn to see if we have any options. A shrine provides no immediate benefit. Leaving out double black, possibly for guest verdict, and we drew another land anyway, so conceding's the option here. Unfortunate start to our round, but hopefully we'll do better in game 2. As far as sideboard goes, we still don't have many good options. We really simply got unlucky. We will play Spined Thopter because of its Phyrexian mana cost, and cut Inquisitor Exarch as a result, because it will still fill the 2 slot. So this time we're going to play first, and hopefully with a more solid hand. Well, we have early plays, so that is a slight advantage. So we're going to keep. Also, we have an option to Riddlesmith and Porcelain Legionnaire, 2 of them in our opening hands. So, and our opponent mulligan the 6. So much better start than previously. We'll lead out with the Fume Spitter for some hopefully early damage. And also just to keep him from playing any of those creatures. So, lead in with the Swamp and swing. Very unlikely that he would Vapor Snag or anything along those lines, so Glenhawk Idol is a fine play here as well, because we can't activate it with the Plains. The Shrine again, which we have no answer to, which still isn't that big of an issue though. Simply activate the Glenhawk Idol and swing. Since he was apparently not playing white, he shouldn't get more than 1/1/1 a turn, which in the end is really pretty irrelevant to us. Treasure Mage, so see what he reveals. Nothing. He failed to find, so he's playing Treasure Mage as a 2/2 for 2. Here I think it's completely fair to just equip the Sylvok Lifestaff to the Glenhawk Idol and swing for 3. Additionally, we're going to equip the Sylvok Lifestaff to our Fume Spitter in case he plays a viable target for us to sack to, so we gain the life. The 1 cost is negligible, and we still have our 1 black open for Virulent Wound. This also allows us to just block the Treasure Mage if we choose to do so. Which we will. I'm assuming that's because he has a 1-drop that's, or a 1 toughness creature that's more valuable. Most likely, again, it'll be the Riddlesmith. So we'll make the trade, gain the 3 life, and see what he does. Oh, Sphinx. Interesting. If we draw a land here, red the Cygnus will be very valuable, and we did. And so he does not have Metalcraft or the ability to return it in any other way. He's tapped out, so spread the Cygnus, choose not to proliferate because the only legal target would be Shrine of Loyal Legions, which obviously doesn't help us. Pierce Strider, mostly irrelevant. We go back to our starting 20, and we just resume trying to race with Glenhawk Idol. Noriak Replica is quite a headache at this point with the ability to bounce their Glenhawk Idol. But it's not any more dangerous, so I'm going to go ahead and activate the Glenhawk, equip in an attempt to attack. probably will just be sacked for an effect. Well, not at this point, which is convenient. We'll now pay the 2 life to activate or play our Spinethopter and still, of course, leave up Violent Wound. So our opponent is effectively on a turn 2 clock, but it's not quite as honest as it could be because he has the ability to sack the replica. So we're just going to take the 4 here. Yeah. So activate the Glinthawk, attempt to swing with both. The effect's very predictable. He's going to bounce one of our guys. Yep, of course. And the Spinethopter is the target, so we lose the life. Hit him full 2. And additionally, we'll play the Accorder Paladin and the Thopter, which is a little awkward because that does put us at 9 life, and he will have the ability to deal that much damage, so maybe we won't. No, I think that's probably still the correct option. Slightly more difficult choice here. Yeah, we do, because we can block the Pierce Strider with the Accorder Paladin and attack back for the win if he does choose that option. So, and if he does pop the Shrine on his turn, they'll all have Summoning Sickness and therefore be unable to attack. So he has to activate it here and have some effect to go along with it. So without a bounce spell or a kill spell, if he does attack all out here, it ends in a net loss for him. Since he'll take 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 damage and block the Pierce Strider directly. Because if we don't, that's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and we're obviously dead. So we trade our Accorder Paladin for the Pierce Strider and hope he does not have Vapor Snag. Or he plays something with only 1 toughness. So, that's where we start. Activate the Glinthawk Idol, equip it, and swing and hope for the best. And that's our game. On to game 3.